Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippine. Welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And we're officially watching the last few seconds tick away of this one. We got third and four for the Bears with 25 seconds left, 30 to 12. I'm assuming that'll be the final score. But the Minnesota Vikings take care of business against a team that they had no right losing to in this week and beat the Bears most likely 30 to 12, and they're going to improve to 12 and 2 on the season. The Vikings and Lions are now officially tied in record. Obviously, the Lions still have the tiebreaker over us, but the Vikings still command their own destiny with this win. They now have three more wins that they can potentially, win the North if they can get past these few teams. It's going to be a very difficult ride, very tough road. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have to play in Seattle against a team that didn't play great last week, and also Geno Smith may or may not play in that game. But regardless, that stadium is just so hard to play in. And then we play at home against the Packers, who are once again red hot to end the season like it feels like they always are. And then, of course, if we get past those two games, it's the game of all games, the Detroit Lions in Michigan for the final game of the regular season. So plenty of stuff can still happen. But I'll get my stats up on the other laptop here. But taking a look here at the official stats, we had Sam Darnold with 231 yards, one touchdown, did throw one interception, got sacked twice, um, which was surprising because it felt like Darnold should have gotten sacked way more in this game, especially in the first half, but he was able to avoid pressure a lot of those times. And then on the rushing side of things, we rushed for a total of 114 yards. Aaron Jones with 86 yards got that touchdown, did a little bit of a Vikings leap, but always tough to do that in the Vikings stadium because it's so high up. But he was able to hang off like Spider-Man. That was kind of funny. Cam Akers got some garbage time yards as well as being a good change of pace guy whenever Aaron Jones needed a breather. Justin Jefferson was able to get back up to kind of his standard, although he still ended up with less than 100 yards, but it's just tough when you're double covered like that. But seven receptions for 73 yards, caught that touchdown to start off the game. Jordan Addison with 63 yards, Hawkinson got 52, and then Aaron Jones with 20 receiving yards. So able to spread the ball out pretty well amongst those top options. And this was kind of one of those games where we had a feeling this wasn't going to just be a beatdown. I really hoped it would be for the sake of the Vikings kind of making a statement. But I feel like there's been a lot of teams this year that have played down to the Bears, and I mean, just one of those classic games. The same thing happened to the Lions the last time these two teams played on Thanksgiving. It's just sometimes when you've got a team like the Bears, it's easy to let yourself get into the way they play their game and start to let that dictate things, and you let yourself play down to their level, and it ends up being a scarily close game that you're just able to crawl out of. Thankfully, the Vikings in the second half were able to break that spell. And the most important drive of this entire game that showed the Vikings have the potential to get into that elite level and remain one of the best teams in the league is we had that situation where the Vikings were, up by 13 at one point, and then we ended up dodging a bullet as the Bears, 13-0, had the ball at the goal line. They had a penalty on a player that failed to report, and then that resulted in the Bears eventually having to kick a field goal. Now, of course, that was a missed face mask, and I have said it time and time again. I don't know how mask isn't reviewable at this point. Any play or any penalty that is directly a penalty because of the danger it causes to a player if it's committed, any penalty like that should be reviewable. Face masks, horse collars, shot blocks, any hip drop tackles, even if they decide to go that route, like those kind of penalties where a player is genuinely at serious risk, any 15-yard penalty that puts a player at risk like that needs to be reviewed. But it ended up working out for the Vikings in that case. But I just still maintain that. But anyway, getting back to my point, the Vikings were in that drive, and on defense, they were able to kind of dodge a bullet, realizing, oh shoot, if they had scored a touchdown there, all of a sudden it's a one possession game, getting that wake up call. This is where you can tell the difference between a good team and a mediocre team. Because the good teams always seem to score a touchdown in that situation. How many times in the past have the Vikings been a meh team with Kirk Cousins that was record wise a better team, but didn't really get the recognition they deserved and was never able to pull away? In those situations, they'd play a good team, and the other team would capitalize on those mistakes. The Vikings would miss a field goal. The Vikings would have it at the one and not score a touchdown. It always felt like that very next drive was that one drive where the other team woke up and immediately scored a touchdown and made a statement. And that's the kind of thing the Vikings have been failing to do that they're finally starting to see happen, which is huge for us. Because we were in that exact situation, dodged the bullet. Bears only got a field goal. We were still up by two possessions, but we said, you know what? This is where we need to score a touchdown, completely flip the momentum of this game, and get up by multiple possessions and get that three possession lead and start to run away with it. That's exactly what the Vikings did at the end of that third quarter, went all the way down the field, scored a touchdown with Aaron Jones, and then proceeded to score another touchdown right away in that fourth quarter, and the rest was history. And so, I would love to see the Vikings play all four quarters the way they played that end of third and fourth, but it was really uplifting as a fan to see the way that we responded to that and to be able to capitalize on mistakes. I mean, Super Bowls are won from teams that know how to capitalize on mistakes and make teams pay for that. Whether it's turnovers, missed field goals, a field goal over a touchdown in those types of situations. Every single year, you see the team that wins the Super Bowl is the best at exploiting those things. On top of that, obviously having one of the better quarterbacks and having at least a top 15 defense, if not higher. I feel like the Vikings have that all right now, and they have the formula to be able to get the job done. Um, on top of that, you know, Metellus has been phenomenal. Cashman and Grenard have been just unbelievable. Moreau actually didn't do too bad, in the absence of Gilmore and this defense in general was absolutely phenomenal the entire game. They didn't let the fact that the Vikings were struggling to score deter them. Darnold didn't have the best game, but the rest of the team lifted him up. And it's always great to see when your team has a rough game, but it still feels like they commanded the majority of that game. Like that's what a good team does. And we can be a lot better than we played tonight, and this entire team knows that. And it's almost kind of a good thing as opposed to beating up on a team, having a higher standard, having higher expectations, especially going into a tougher matchup and even more tough matchups the rest of the way. It almost feels good to continue to have our skills honed in that way. So I think that, again, this is a game that could have been better for us, but a game that we still learned a lot as a team, and I think that we can continue to get better off of this. We now play in Seattle, 3:25 game next Sunday, which, regardless of who's in at quarterback, is going to be a tough game because that defense is good, and they didn't play well against the run against Josh Jacobs, but they usually are better than that. And I think that it'll still be a tough game. And on top of that, even if we do make it past Seattle, the Packers are right there. And even if we make it past the Packers, the Lions are right there. But it's nice to have that ramp up because it's like the Bears are like bottom of the barrel. Seahawks are a borderline division winner, borderline playoff team the way they're playing. And you go all the way up to the Packers, who are one of the better wildcard teams. And then you've got the Lions, who are arguably the best team in the league. They do have some guys that they've recently missed now due to injury, like Montgomery. Had a defensive lineman that got hurt for the season, so it might level the playing field here. Not saying that's a good thing because you always want to play against the best and never want to see guys get hurt, but it's just the facts. So we'll see how all that plays out. But again, Vikings officially win here 30-12, improve to 12-2, are tied in record with the Detroit Lions, and still maintain control over their own destiny the last few weeks of the season. Vikings fans are going to be watching these final few games very, very closely. But thanks so much for watching this one. Let me know what you think in the comments about this victory. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.